I was actually introduced to you by Desrevis.
Oh yeah.
So he randomly took a few guild masters and just like threw them at me. I was like, "Hey, TV, here's some people," and they're like,
some people.
"Oh, hi."
Welcome, fellow travelers. My name is Neorine, and I'm joining Chibi and Vertic at the Golden Feather. Come on in, grab a seat, and let's share tales of adventure.
But most importantly, who is Neorine? Neorine?
Neorine. I go do Neorine. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Well, man, I mean, there's not much to it, really. I'm just a gamer like everyone else. That was once upon a time looking for a guild to join when ashesofcreation interest had gotten peaked.
Yeah.
And joined some bigger guilds to see if that was the case that I'd like to be a part of. Wasn't for me too much. The big Zerg mentality just wasn't fitting well. Went to the smaller guilds, met some great people, but organization really wasn't there for me. So I pulled away, and finally I decided, hey, I know what I want. Let's do it. And here we are.
Nice. I like it. So do you make any sort of content?
No, not personally. I don't make any content. But I do watch all sorts of game related anything when it comes to obviously Ash's content. When it comes to just almost, goodness gracious, anything, any game that can catch my interest, and it's like candy for me. I'm just staring.
Okay, that's fair. And what is the Divine Order, and what do you have to do with it?
Oh man, the Divine Order. Well, made the Divine Order sometime in February 21. After, like I said earlier, and I mean the main goal is I want to try and find some quality members. We're not looking to be the biggest guild on the server. That's just not my cup of tea. And so finding good people to game with, not only in Ashes, but of course outside of it, like we're doing now. Getting a head start of things, theory crafting, looking deep into the lore, and anything you could think of under the sun when it comes to Ashes. This early, we're trying to look at, but we're trying to be a really quality guild that's tackling PvX content, and we're very, very interested in what the node system has to offer. So,
okay. Yeah. I was gonna ask you, like, what's your focus as a guild? You said PvX. Is there any RP in there? Are you strictly non-RP?
So it's not like we're going out of our way to non-RP or anything like that. It's just we haven't had that attraction in our members that have been coming in. That's not something that's just been brought up at all. So
Very
we
fair.
just kind of, we're not opposed to it, but it's not something we're going towards either.
That's fair. Yeah, absolutely. And I was actually introduced to you by Desrevis.
Oh yeah.
So he apparently, like, for those that don't know, Desrevis is super awesome. He randomly took a few guild masters and just like threw them at me. I was like, "Hey, TV, here's some people," and they're like,
some people.
"Oh, hi," because I was talking to not only you, but I believe Avexia as well, and they're like, "Yeah." So Desrevis was just kind of like, "Hey, do you want to be on this show?" And they're like, "Sure."
Yeah, why not?
Why not? And I really like that because there's like a big part of the community. While I have known a good part of this community for a while, there's still a bigger part I feel like that we've yet to get the ability to meet, and I'm excited to like sit and learn more about the Divine Order and your thoughts on Ashes. Very excited for that.
Yeah, Snecker is crazy people, obviously.
But what class do you intend to play when we get into Ashes?
Oh man, the typical. I'm gonna try and go tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go tank. It's just no matter what game I'm playing. I mean, for instance, I'll use the most recent Dungeonborn. That's been a real kind of big hit in at least my community. And I tried other classes. I'm really trying to get out of the shell of tank, but at the end of the day, I always end up sword and board or mason, the shield. It's just a part of me at this point that I cannot escape.
Yeah,
You and
that's
me
fair.
both. You and me both. Are you finding in your guild if is there a heavy sway towards any certain archetype or any certain role?
For a while, it's not that way any longer, but for a long while, we had an abundance of tanks and clerics, ironically, going for the Divine Order and having our meet and greets. A lot of people, they're like, oh, Paladin, or cleric, healer. And so it's like, okay, well, we know what we're attracting, which is great. This is the things that are sought out the most. But we need more DPS. And so we finally gotten to that point now to where the norm is DPS is obviously the more abundant role we have.
Yeah,
That's actually a common thing that I'm finding amongst a lot of guilds for Ashes is a lot of them are tank and healer heavy.
Yeah, it's it was weird at first because again, the expectation is usually people just want to hit things and hit them hard or hit them fast. Either rogue or big bonk build.
yeah.
So having an actual the offset come in, it was interesting. Great people, glad to meet them, but at first, it was starting to look like, oh man, are we gonna have to go hunting for our DPS? This is gonna be a little awkward.
That's gonna be awkward.
Yeah.
I mean, that being said, I feel like what a class looks like right now versus how it actually plays is very different. For example, I was recently chatting with Lloyd and Anduin and Jamie, and Jamie's thinking maybe he might go fighter. Like, there's a lot of really interesting things that, like, when you look into it, I mean, this morning Pockets was doing a deep dive on Ranger and like kind of coming up with these different metas that you could potentially do and like how it actually works, the way that they're expressing it and being like, well, actually, it looks like you can apply 2 marks to this person. You can do this with that kind of mark. Yeah. And I think that when people start actually playing these, they're going to realize, especially if you start trying to play other classes besides the one that you're like dead set on, not only are you going to be able to kind of understand how those other classes work, but whatever you choose, whatever class you're choosing, you're going to understand what that class's kit is kind of like, so you would know how to adjust to that really well. And I think that that's a really important thing. Like, Vertec always makes it a point to play a healer at least one of the healers that I'm playing, so he knows what I'm dealing with when I'm saying, hey, I'm out of this, or I just popped that. He kind of has an idea like, oh, she just popped this big heal. Okay, she's got at least 30 seconds before she could pop it again. So from the last time she made that call, I have to be prepared to like keep myself alive for another 5 seconds before she can put it on me again. And I think that's really, really important, especially in her guild play, in her party play, just really understanding that kind of stuff. So how are you guys going to progress as a guild into building those dynamics? And do you guys have access to Alpha 2?
Yeah, we've got a large portion of the guild, I'd say a majority, into Alpha 2. That everybody that we have currently. Yeah. We have a few that are sitting as an associate tag, which is, hey, don't want to commit to anything guild related, like responsibility wise. I know I want to be in the guild, but I'm gonna go do my thing until Alpha 2 kicks off. Nice. And so, not even counting those guys, we've got a good amount jumping into Alpha 2, which is good. But tackling that dynamic of who's gonna play what, or how are we gonna know what's what? I'm very Discord tech savvy. I'm all over the place with that thing, and I love messing with all sorts of stuff and learning the new things that it has to offer. So there's some things that I'll like to mess around with and kind of convert into some sort of like database. It gets real nerdy, but
I love it.
I go into that kind of deep dive. That way, everyone in our guild has a way to communicate with each other. For instance, we have it's a class tech room, and so this classroom is instead of it being based strictly off your class, it's more on your role. You're gonna play tank, DPS, support, or healer, and so based off those 4 categories, no matter your class, because my god, there's a lot that you can dive into, you can fit into at least one of these categories and have a conversation about, hey, this X, Y, and Z is happening. However the conversation wants to go, it can go.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that.
Oh yeah.
Vertec, do you want to get a question in before I keep throwing them at him?
Oh man, so I'm assuming, seeing some of the names that I haven't really seen around here before, some of these are your guildies, and they
Most
seem to be
likely.
a riot. They seem to be a riet.
Mhm.
The
Oh,
Discord's
yeah.
going to be quite lively.
Oh yeah, that's not just text chats, but in VCs, it's fun. I'll say that, it's fun.
All right,
Well,
all
we
right,
welcome it very much. So you guys are very entertaining, and feel free to give your thoughts too. For those of you that are new, hi, I'm Chibi. This is Vertex. I clipped. But
this direction, that direction.
Yeah, just somewhere is Vertex. But we like to engage with the chat while we have our guest on. So yeah, thank you. Welcome to the tavern. Try to keep it very tavern-esque in here. Another question I had is, with the existence of Alpha 2, do you have any ideas on how you intend to maybe keep secure your precious guild plans?
Oh man, yes, and they're already being deployed, I guess if you want to call it that's the right word. We have this kind of layer. So back from the beginning here is when I said, we want quality over quantity of members. We keep that even now. Granted, we're so far out from like an actual launch, other than Alpha 2. We've been pretty strict. We want active members in the guild currently, because in our eyes, that's as quality as we can currently get without really going into another MMO together, right? And so trying to get to know them, that's going to be a whole part of it, having a whole active guild. Well, first off, there's an initiation process. When you come in, you have to fill an application. And then based off of that, that's the first kind of barriers. The application had some effort put into it. Okay, yes or no, approved or not. Secondly, the initiation phase, we have a meet and greet. We talk to them. We get to know them a little bit. And then we base off of a little small time frame. Are they going to be a guild member or not? Do they like it here? And do we like them here?
Yeah.
And then after that process, congratulations, you've now made it to the enlisted rank.
Yeah.
And we have a whole XP system based off of that on how people can get promoted via the enlisted rank itself. Don't listen to him. I trust me. Don't listen to him.
That was bad timing.
No.
These are the initiates.
Everyone's went through it. That's the sad part. Even though they're officers, they've all been through it. But yeah, I mean, getting up to the point to exactly that. An officer, it takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and just to be able to see the privy stuff. We have tags that are temporary when it comes to contracts. We're going to do node stuff. There's so many systems in place that work well, whether things change or not, when it comes to Ash's plans, because we know how things will love to change.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm imagining with the name you folks are aiming for a divine node. And I'm curious about biome. Have you folks talked about or discussed if you're trying to aim to live in a certain biome? I mean, even if you don't land that, divine node metro in that area, are you still kind of sticking to a biome, or is it divine node do or die?
That one's a tough one because that one's still in, I wouldn't call it debate at all, but it's a matter of where do we think is going to be either, of course, everyone's going to do it. So what's the meta here? Are we going to go coastal? And if that's the case, where's our best region to go coastal? We're not a Zerg, so we can't compete with another. Like if a Zerg rolls in and we want to go grab the most optimal spot. So there's just a lot of factors we got to kind of play into it. And that's most likely going to come off of where are the divine gateways and where are they located? That way, when we come into a start, where are we going to go? So there's some other stuff that we need to have revealed to us before we finally make that kind of hard stamp decision before launch.
Okay. Fair enough. And how on the range of casual to hardcore? So there's been discussions on what exactly casual means, but when it comes to, let's say, time commitment to the guild and in-game activities and whatnot, are you aiming for any kind of limits on that? Like if somebody just on a regular disappears for like 3-4 weeks at a time, are you gonna say, hey, we only have a certain number of spaces, you got to go, man, sorry? Right.
And so that's something that, and this is why it's important to have these meet and greets that I mentioned earlier, is we kind of lay down the foundation of, hey, we're glad that we attracted you via everything that we've shown to offer, and now that you're here, this is what we have, our rules, our ground rules here, and we make that clear to them is, hey, if you're gone and you let somebody know, hey, something emergency's happening, I'm gonna be gone. Okay, that's a whole different story. Life comes first. I thought to everybody, life come first. The video game can only get us so far and have so much fun.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's just like, hey, I'm gonna go kick it and just kind of go binge watch Game of Thrones for the next week or so, and we just see old Joe Schmoes just went offline forever, and we're like, hey man, you got a raid roll. Like, where have you been? We don't hear anything. That's a big issue. So there's exceptions, of course, but I guess we lean more a little bit to the hardcore side. And in order to, I say we're competitive. So in order to maintain that competitive edge, we need to have that competitive player base really within our guild. And so if someone's sitting out, well, someone's gonna have to take their place in that stead.
Yeah, makes sense. As somebody, I think Ashes haven't logged in 25 hours. Kick.
Imagine. You haven't responded to all 8 of my messages that I sent in the last hour. What's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
Pom, pom, pom.
Ooh, zombie medic, is that a challenge? I like it. You beat me in healing, you get a spot.
Okay. Oh, that's easy to do.
Oh man.
Man, that bus. Even Vera has buses, okay? Be ready for him.
That was a good comeback. Hold on.
And yeah, apologies about the Discord pings if anybody was confused. I forgot to set myself to do not disturb.
I think unknowing note should be a bard, because that was some vicious mockery right there.
Oh my god, vicious mockery.
Speaking of bard.
Oh yeah.
So so before we move into the main content or I guess the second main content of the day, would you like to drop any words about your guild and or what you do in it or what you need in it? Any upcoming events, etc.?
Oh man. Well, I mean, active members, really. We want people who are active in the community. We don't want people who pop in every week or so just to say hi and then never show their face again. We want to be an active guild, a guild that makes an impact. We're not looking for all the numbers, but that's the point. We want to be, everyone knows each other's names in here. So if that sounds like your kind of deal, then we have a place for you in here. So feel free to join in.